leaders, dreamers, changemakers, welcome to the Vibrant Living Podcast. Here, limitations shatter and potential explodes into a kaleidoscope of possibility. At the helm, Donna Tashjian, life mastery coach and founder of Vibrant Living International, weaves godly wisdom and Christian perspective into every step, empowering you to discover your purpose and light up your world. Here is your host, Donna.
Hello, Vibrant Living community. This is Donna, and I would like to welcome you to another special episode. I have Jahmaal with me today, and I can't wait for you to hear his story and all that God has been doing in his life. Welcome to the podcast, Jahmaal.
Thanks for having me, Donna. I appreciate that.
You are welcome. And where do you find yourself living currently in the world?
Currently in the nation's capital, right here in Washington, D.C.
Oh, yay. We're not going to go there.
I deem you a very wise woman.
That's not our subject for today, people.
Amen.
Oh,
boy.
so tell us a little bit about what you're doing today, and then we're going to go back and hear how you got to where you are today.
Got it. So today I'm a certified counselor and executive coach. I work with tech executives and leaders, senior leaders in HR, and also individual contributors. So that would be people who are business owners. And I tackle burnout at the root with proven methods that are actually tailored specifically to the client's needs. So burnout, anxiety, high stress, and also addictive patterns. I love that because I got into that. I didn't always do executive coaching. That just happened 5 years ago. But I started off as an addictions counselor back in 2013. And so that gave me a love for brain neuroplasticity because so many people, when it comes to any type of addictions of alcoholism, drugs, gambling, pornography, you name the food, the many different addictions and vices that we have, we always think, how can I modify my behavior? How can I change my behavior? And I would suffice to say, probably 99% of the people under the sound of both of our voices right now have a microwave. And you know scientifically that it heats from the outside in. The most effective work, though, happens from the inside out. And so I don't want to put people to sleep, but cognitive behavioral therapy is something very common in the wellness field, in the counseling field. I'm trained in it. I don't see anything wrong with it, but where it falls flat is that it focuses mostly on modifying your behavior instead of tackling the belief that informs your behavior. So that is what I do today. And I work with people from Nike, Honda, Zillow, Amazon, Carta, Comcast, you name it. So.
Oh, that's incredible. One of the quotes that I read, I don't remember where, and now it's, I've said it enough that I'm claiming it, which, is not really fair, but I'll just say it, is the height of your flight is not your environment with an E, it's your environment with an I.
I love that. You're the first person I heard say that, so you own it.
There we go. It's one of my favorite lately. It's because so many times, even in coaching and counseling, we're all dealing with, how many times, let's take, if it was exercise, it's like, I'm going to exercise this time. Never mind why I don't want to exercise and what's going on the inside first, because if that has to change for it to be lasting. Otherwise, it's just, I'm going to do this by my will. And eventually that doesn't work anymore, as diet industry shows. So, so anyone that has coaching on a subject, it means they've experienced it. It is, it is a truth. If we're helping people, we've somehow gone through it. So tell us a little bit about your story, if you will be so.
Okay. Well, I would say it started because most of us, who are at least 35 and over feel like we are just the sum of who we become. And it started as a little boy. I grew up in a household which was half faith-based, half I don't know what was going on, but my mom's a Christian, and my mother was absolutely divine. My father, on the other hand, in my mind's eye, was mean enough to be Satan himself. And so growing up like that, I had no idea, I didn't know what drugs were. I didn't know what alcohol was. I did not know what addiction was, but I just know that he was very unpredictable. especially when he was either high or drunk. The strange thing about my father is that he always provided. We never went without, always held a job. So he was more a very functional addict,
Mm.
but nonetheless an addict. And he could also be very abusive, physically or verbally. And so when he was in that state, I found him to be very unpredictable. And if you
Mhm.
think as a little boy in those formative
Yeah.
years, your father's who you get confidence from, who you look to, who you want to play with, half the time I could put my finger on him, half the time I didn't know what was coming. And
Mhm.
so that created an environment of very high anxiety in those formative years where I learned to, I know we talked about being in DC, but I learned to be a politician very early on. Like, okay, what does the person
Mhm.
want to hear? What do they want to see? How do they
Right.
want me to be so that I don't kick up any dust or trouble the waters?
And I can be safe.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't even realize, Donna, that I was creating my own psychological safety
Yep.
um, through being excellent at all things. So, at school, nothing less than an A. Even when I was in band, I was first chair. I was the quintessential overachiever because that was my way of like, well, if I'm presenting all these things, surely you're pleased, surely you're happy. I never thought of just being loved for being me.
Yeah.
And the strange thing is growing up, in a household where like my mom, she kept us in, church, us kids. Um, I would hear that stuff and I would hear about the father's love, and I don't know how many of your audience is faith-based or not, but it
Hmm.
didn't resonate with me so much because that's not how I knew my earthly father.
Right.
So it was like it sounded good. It sounded right, but it just didn't sound right to me.
It wasn't your normal.
No, you
Hmm.
know, my normal was my experience, not what they said,
Hmm.
not even what I read in the Bible. That
Right.
that was not what you hear people say today, my truth. I don't really like that term, but it wasn't true to me.
Right.
So as a result, I got my first professional job in the Department of Justice off the Senate side of the Capitol. I know we're talking about DC more than we should be here. But I used to be the first to get to work and last to leave. And I remember like by the time I was what 22, I had my own office.
Mm.
And I was the guy who was always dependable. They compared other people coming into me, and it made me feel like really good about me, but I didn't realize that I was dying on the inside. Not to
Yeah.
mention, I had my own, addictions as a result of my coping mechanism. I had to take the
Mhm.
pain somewhere.
Yep.
And so it wasn't until around 2009 when I was finishing up, I graduated from Regent University. Um, that I would hear a theme of like, you should become like a counselor. And I was like, man, so I took up, counseling and psychology as my major. I don't think people realized how messed up I was, you know? And so I knew that at some point I had to go get help. If I was going to help anyone else, I had to go get help. And so to end of 2009, 2010 is when I went and I invested in over 13 months of inpatient counseling myself.
Mm.
Which I want to just say, I want to break in and say, in my coaching and counseling, I never have my clients do anything that I haven't gone ahead of them to do. I never have them make an investment that I haven't made.
Hmm.
Um, so I realized that I had a lot of bitterness and hatred for my father. I have to rewind a little bit. End of 2006, he actually became a Christian. Um, I was the one that led him to Christ. He was actually drunk when that happened.
Hmm.
And it was wild. We were on the floor all night in the apartment. And it took a couple of years to engender trust, though.
Yeah.
Right, because for 22 of the first formative years of my life, all I knew was horror. So it was just like,
Hmm.
it wasn't until I went away and came back where we started getting really tight. And I can just share with you that my worst enemy over time became my best friend.
Mm.
Miracle. Um, Now I had left the government in 2019 and started working for a nonprofit. That nonprofit was good because there I did train in the clinical. I trained in
Hmm.
counseling. I actually, that I got my certification, trained in 3 different modalities. However, it fed something in me that wasn't healthy and it fed that need to be needed.
Mm.
And it kind of reinforced that cycle when I was with the government of doing all things excellent. And I didn't realize, until probably around 2013, 2014, that I am burning out. And so
Yeah.
I remember one of the senior, I was one of 3 senior counselors, but one of the senior staff members over me said, we feel like some of the clients here don't have enough access to you. And I said, man, I'm the first to get here, the last to leave. I even keep a walkie-talkie. I make myself available. But what I didn't realize, Donna, was that I had created this narrative of always being available, that anytime I withdrew or had a boundary, it seemed foreign to them. But I had to
Mm,
tell myself that this is a narrative that I created, you
hmm.
know? And so I had to go back into more, training, some other masterminds. And so that's what developed me into what I do today. I worked for a very toxic nonprofit, which, was headed unfortunately by a narcissist. It doesn't mean the
Hmm.
guy can't use it, but
Yeah.
and that trained me not just people talk about confidence, but to be aware of
Mm.
self, aware of others, and also aware of what my capabilities truly are so that I could mentally power position myself to move forward. We talk about boundaries a lot, but boundaries are for you. When you respect them, other people will too. And I had to learn to respect my own boundaries and get to the core of my subconscious belief.
Yeah.
That was long-winded, but there you go.
I I I love all of that. It is um it's a story, and it's important that we have all the twists and turns. One of my favorite quotes about boundaries is they're not walls, they're the doors of where you can enter. And I love that because if I showed up at your house and tried to climb in your window, you're like, Donna, what the heck? Come on around to the front door. You're welcome, but you don't enter my bedroom. That's not where you come in my house. And we have people in our lives like that, and we feel like we can't do boundaries because we're putting up a wall. And I love to change it. It's like, no, this is where the door is. This is how you enter. This is how we engage. And it is good for both of us in that way. So I love, but it is a learned skill, especially when our dependency on our worth is what somebody needs in us. I've been there, done that too. I'm the high performance girl. All of those kind of things can relate to the story. Different past, but still that need to prove our worth until we can really learn that God is the source of our worth and what He says about us. But
Mhm.
man, that's a shift that's got to occur, like we were talking about on the inside. That is a huge. I um, was so excited to share your story because there's so many people who can relate to the addictive behavior. It isn't always alcohol and drugs. It's addicted to performance. It's addicted to somebody going kudos or being the first. I was the first and I was the last to leave, and all of those. All of that can be addictive in the way that we get our self-worth. What are some of the tips that you might like to share today? And I think you have something to offer as well.
Got it. Just a few tips I want to share when it comes to high performance. And we hear that word, especially here in DC, any major city, you're
Mhm.
going to have a ton of high performers because it kind of runs on that. Um, and I will say this, if you're under toxic leadership, they're going to monetize your high performance and your
Mhm.
need to be needed. So you need to get to the core of what you believe. I will just give a few like tips that everyone can apply. Pause.
Mhm.
One of the trademark phrases that I've coined is that the problem is in the pattern, but the power is in the pause. When you
Mhm.
pause, you give your brain enough time to assess what exactly is happening and how do I want to respond. That'll help you not react. That's
Mhm.
number one. Number two, understand how you think and how you process intel. Intel is just intelligence. What is going on? You're not going to process like your neighbor. You're not going to process like your siblings or your parents. You process things differently. And for those who are typically tend to be a little bit more empathic, just understand that your desire to see everybody win can also be your hunger pain.
Mhm.
So understand how you process information. And even if you process it with more of a type A, for lack of better rhetoric, um, that's okay. You know, take that time to pause and say, hey, am I engaging with how this person feels? If you feel stuff too much, is there a way I can disengage in a way that's healthy for me and another person that's mutually beneficial?
Mhm.
And number three, invest in yourself.
Mhm.
One thing I can't stand in being, I'm primarily very active on LinkedIn. I'm here and there on Facebook is stop quotes. stop quotes and don't quotes completely dismiss a person's background and who they are. You're not just going to stop something that you've been doing for over 30 years of your life.
Yep.
You're not just going to don't do something that you've only done because that's your mode of survival. You need to invest and understand what's going on in your subconscious mind. And you'll be surprised when you make that investment in your personal development, all other areas of your life will change dramatically.
Absolutely. You stop being so upset. You're overreacting. Calm down. None of those work.
They drive me crazy, Donna. So
Oh,
what
none of those work at all.
what I want to
Oh,
share with your audience is a mini course. It's a Rewiring new mini course that I developed. And I took out, this is 16 years of experience, and I took all the guesswork out and put it into a mini course. And so I'm going to just whatever the acronyms for the podcast are, that's what it's going to be. It'll actually be right in the show notes, and it'll be a clickable link. So you don't even have to put in the code. I'm going to do the code for you all.
okay.
And once you click on it, it'll go straight to the mini course, and it'll be at a very highly discounted rate. It normally retails at $500, but I'm going to discount it down to $97 just to knock off all of that. So it's not a hassle. And $97 for those of us, most of us, is a dinner.
Yes, it is. Absolutely is. Oh, and what's your name of the course?
The name of the course is the Rewire and Renew mini course.
That is intriguing. We, again, going deeper, not changing just behavior. It's rewiring how we think so that we can, as I say it, be all that God created us to be. Um, One of my passions is stopping identity theft.
Hmm.
And when I say that, of course, I'm not talking about your credit card or your social security number. I'm talking about the identity that was created because of the way your dad was, that became the man that you were. And that was really stealing, if you will, who you were really created to be. And so, and it steals relationships as well and all of that. So I get this course, guys, that's just like a dinner out. So grab this course today so that we'll put other ways to also connect with Jahmaal so that you can learn more about he's doing. And if you know someone who needs this, share it with them. We need to impact our world so that with stuff that really works. And so thank you, Jahmaal, for creating this, for sharing your story today. Do you have any last closing comments before we move on?
Not so much a closing comment, but I would say from an epithet standpoint, like if I was to surely perish today, I would think on my grave, it would say he did what he could. You know,
Mhm.
a lot of times we're doing more than is required. Folks, whoever's listening, do what you can.
Yeah.
We are human beings. We're not human doings. Do what you can and leave the rest to God.
Yeah. I remember when God told me that, and I didn't have a clue what he meant. What do you mean, a human being? I've got so much to do. Oh, one of my favorite quotes that I've seen for a gravestone is to be continued.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I
I
like
like
that
that.
one. Thank you very much, Jahmaal, for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Donna.
Well, that was an amazing conversation, and Jahmaal is a incredible man of God. So I hope you take advantage of his offer that will be in the description, show notes, wherever you find the audio or video. And I will look forward to talking to you soon. I will always put a wisdom consultation link in all my descriptions because I'm here to serve you. This is a time for you to take it to the next level, to learn, to find a community that supports you and can pour into you because as a leader and aspiring leaders, we're giving all the time. And we need a place where we are strengthened, fortified, and for people to talk to us in a manner that helps us to continue to grow and impact the world. So until I see you again, have an amazing day. Bye for now.
I hope your soul feels ignited, your spirit nourished, and your mind buzzing with possibilities. Share this with a friend who needs a dose of vibrant living. Tag us on hashtag Vibrant Living Podcast and tell us your biggest takeaway. For more support, clarity, and wisdom, visit Donna at iVibrantLiving.com. See you soon.